Hey there, crypto traders, Ian here, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to use Coinigy's charting software to analyze price changes in your favorite cryptocurrencies. I'll also show you how to build a chart layout, save it, and then share it on StockTwits and Twitter. But first we need to choose a crypto to analyze, and let me show you. There's two ways to do this. The first thing you can do is if on Coinigy you look on the left side of the screen, this will give you all the exchanges where crypto trades. For this case, I'm going to use GDAX, and then once you click on GDAX, it shows you what assets are traded on that exchange. So here you have your Bitcoin markets first, is Bitcoin versus the euro, Bitcoin versus the pound, Bitcoin US dollar obviously. Then you've got your Ethereum markets and then Litecoin. Today we're going to look at Litecoin versus the US dollar. So if I click on that, it populates Litecoin versus the US dollar. Now, the second way to find a crypto is if you know the ticker symbol. For instance, let's say I want to trade Factum. I type in FCT, and this gives me the Factum markets. This is versus Bitcoin versus Ethereum on Bittrex and BitMEX. Okay, so that's the second way. Now let's toggle this panel over to get a better overview of this chart. So when you look at the chart, the first thing you notice, if you zoom in, if you just use your little mouse to toggle in, you can zoom out of the chart pretty easily. You can zoom in. You can click on it and drag the price left. You can go back to the right. And then if you look on the sides of the chart, there are a bunch of technical indicators right here I'm going to go over in a minute. But first I want to look at the row above the chart to go over each individual indicator that'll help you in your technical analysis. The first box looks like a little cross. Now this changes your cursor. Personally, I prefer the cross, but you can use an arrow if you want. You can use a dot. Looks like there's a little eraser. Here's the dot. I like the cross because if you look on the right side when you're using the cross, it also gives you the price along the y-axis. The second thing is going to be your interval. So right now this chart is set up for a 4-hour interval. You can change this. You can go shorter if you want. Here's a 5-minute interval if you're day trading crypto. If you're in it for the long run, you might want to look at a daily price chart. The moves in the daily have been quite staggering. And if you're looking really long term, you can go a week, and each one of these bars represents 1 week in the price of Litecoin on GDAX. Remember, the data we're getting for this trade is only from the GDAX exchange. Obviously, Litecoin trades on different exchanges, and you can pull up a chart that's based on where Litecoin was priced on those exchanges as well. So then after you figure out what interval, I use the 4-hour. My preference is 4-hour just because it gives me about 3 months of data to look at when charting and figuring out what to buy and what to sell. The next thing is, what is your style? So if you click on this little tab, it pulls up bars, candles, hollow candles, line, area, Heiken Ashi, which is kind of a funky offshoot of candlesticks. I don't really use that. I don't know anyone that does. There's the line chart, which is a really simple drawing that just tracks the price versus time. And if you're going to use a line chart, I would say use area. In this case, I think areas are the best way to demonstrate a longer term price change. So this looks actually pretty neat if you're looking at Litecoin over a year. Another one a lot of people use are the bar chart. The bar charts are great because they give you the opening and closing prices, and then there's a bunch of other technical analysis features that people look at when they're analyzing bar charts. But my preference is for candlesticks, which is this one. And the candlestick, what it does is it tells you the open and close and the magnitude of the move during that period. So if I'm looking at let's say I want to look at this individual candlestick, I can see that the open is at the left side of the body of the candle, which in this case is about 258 260. It looks like there's a tiny wick below, so the price might have dropped during that 4-hour period just a little bit, and then it rose to whatever the top of the wick is. This was the highest price recorded during this candlestick, which is right here at 321, and then the close is going to be the right corner of the body. So when the new candle was formed after this one, the last price was recorded was the right here at 313. Now, something else to notice about candles is there's red and green ones. The green ones mean that the price moved up during that period, and the red ones mean the price actually moved down. So if you've got a green candle, that means the open was at the lower part of the body and the close was at the topper part. If you have a red one like this one, it means that the open was at the high part and the close was at the bottom. Okay, so next let's look at chart properties. Now this is similar to the window I just showed you with the different styles. You can choose candles, bars, hollow candles, line, area. But then you get a little more in depth. You can change the color of your candles. You can change it to blue if you want. You can change it to purple. Any color that you want is available. I like red and green. It's very festive for the holidays here, so I'm going to leave it. And then you could also change the wick. You can widen the width of the price line. So this dotted line right here, this green dotted line, is the current price. And if you want to see the current price a little bit better, you can make that price line wider. You can also change the scales. I think the default settings on the chart platform is fine, so I wouldn't bother changing any of the scales. You can change the background. If you don't like the black background, you can change it to gray. I think the black looks good with the colored candles. And then you can also change the time zone. I'm here in New York, so that is where my default time session is. Now the next tab on here is your indicators tab. If you click on that, it's going to bring up a whole list of technical analysis indicators that you can apply to the charts. You'll see when you first pull up a chart, the default on this really just gives you volume and then volume trend. But this list is a very exhaustive list of analysis you can add to the chart. If you want to quickly just add an exponential moving average, it's under moving average exponential, and I like to add 2 of them. And then after you've added the moving average, if you highlight it and click on it and then click format, you can change the length of the moving average. So in this case, I like to use a 20-day moving average and a 50-day moving average. So I clicked on the second one. The first one I set to 20. Excuse me, not day, this is period, right? Because we're looking at 4-hour periods. So this exponential moving average is a moving average of the last 20 periods, and this one is of the last 50 periods. And if you want to see it better, you click on format again, and then you go to style. And my eyesight is not that great, so I like these to be a lot thicker than the it's set at. I'm going to set that as a blue one, light blue. And then the 50-day moving average, I am going to change this one to an orange color, and I'm going to widen the line. So now you can see these moving averages that I drew below my 4-hour time period chart. And a lot of people in technical analysis use these moving averages as a cross. So if the 20-day falls below the 50, that's typically a bearish signal. If the 20-day is below the 50-day moving average and then crosses above, that's a bullish indicator. So that's one simple indicator that you can add to your charts. So moving along here on these indicators, you could also compare or add symbols. So if we're looking at a chart of Litecoin versus the US dollar. Let's say I want to add a chart of Ethereum versus the US dollar. You can type in USD and you can find the Ethereum US dollar Tether market in Binance. You can add that. Now it defaulted to an area chart. It's really easy to fix that. You can see the blue here obviously is the Ethereum versus US dollar Tether chart. What I need to do is click on this, click on format, right? Go to style. Let's just make it a line, and we can make it, let's say, a yellow line. Okay, so this is the candles are Litecoin versus US dollar, and the yellow line is Ethereum versus US dollar Tether. And then if I want to get rid of that, I just have to click this X button and it deletes it. So you can either do that, click on the X button, delete it, or you can highlight the chart and just click delete on your keyboard and it gets rid of it. And then the other functionality up here is you can quickly undo whatever you added to the chart by hitting this button. So it's similar to the delete, it just undoes the last thing you added. You can put the chart in full screen mode, and then there's this blockchain data product that's still in beta, but you can check that out on your own. The other things are you can set price alerts, which we covered in another video, and then you can buy and sell right from the chart in the Coinigy platform, right from these buttons. So at the bottom of the chart, in the bottom right, you'll see a couple little buttons. The chart defaults to set to the auto scale. However, there's a percent chart. If you click on that, it gives you the percent move during the time period. So you can see what I'm looking at right here. Since December 8th, the price of Litecoin versus US dollar is up 371%. And then the next one is log scale. Now, log scale is really interesting because the vertical distance on the y-axis, it represents the same percentage change in price. So this is actually giving us a more accurate picture, right? Because the distance between 100 to 110 is 10 points, and it's 10%. But when you get to 200 to 210, it's 10 points, but it's only 5%. So if you look at a log scale, it actually gives you a better representation of the move. And in technical analysis, this is something important to note. If you're talking about an asset class that appreciates more than 20% in a short period of time, and when these rules were written, they obviously didn't apply to the crypto markets, but you always want to use a log scale. So I would encourage people that are looking at longer term series of crypto charts to use the log scale. But I'm going to just turn this back to auto for now, just because we're looking at a shorter term time period with the auto scale. So now that you've built this chart, let's go over some of the functionality in Coinigy that allows you to draw some common technical indicators on the chart and also add text and share it on StockTwits or Twitter. The first thing you want to know how to do is drawing a trading range, so your support and resistance lines. The resistance line is going to be at the top of this wick, which would be the 52-week high in Litecoin. You just want to click your cursor on there and hit Alt-H. It'll bring up a horizontal line. If you click on that horizontal line, you can edit it. You can change the color. You can make it wider. You can also delete it, and you can lock it in here. If I can do the same thing at the bottom of the range, so I can go to the 260 level, click on it, and hit Alt-H, and this is going to give me another horizontal line, which if you look at this, you can kind of see the price ranges where Litecoin has been trading for the last 10 days. Now, on the left side of the chart, there is a whole list of symbols here, and this will allow us to add some different drawings and technical indicators to the chart. The first one you want to look at is there's a little button here, you click on it, and it gives you trend line, trend angle, horizontal lines, a bunch of rays and channels. Just using a trend line to see where Litecoin has started and where it's going during this move, and you see that if we're looking at this trend line, the price of Litecoin is sitting on it right now, and that is from when the price move started on December 8th. The second little box has a bunch of other symbols you can add. So you get your pitchforks here. I know a lot of people like to use these GAN fans. My preference is for fib retracements. There's trend-based Fibonacci extensions, which will tell you kind of a Fibonacci look at where the market could go after it makes an explosive move. But let's look at fib retracements. Now, to use a fib retracement in an uptrending market, you want to find a swing low and then pair it with a swing high. So for instance, here there's a swing low on, let's say, December 9th, and we go to the swing high of 420. You just click there and leave it there, and this will give you your fib level. So from the high on December 12th, Fibonacci 61%, which is a key level, is down here at 238. You can see your 50% Fibonacci retracements at 273, 38% fib retracements at 307. Now obviously this is the most basic Fibonacci. If you're doing a full Fibonacci extensions, you want to use all the swing lows and pair them with the swing highs and then look for a confluence of where these lines match up. But I'm not going to get into that in this tutorial because I want to move on and show you some other things. So just to get rid of the fib retracement lines, click this little undo arrow, gets rid of it. I can click it again, get rid of the support line, right? And then if I want to get rid of my support and resistance channel, I just click on that again, and so that's gone. So some of the other functionality lets you kind of call out certain price areas. If you click on the tab below where the fib retracements were, you can bring up a rectangle and you just click on the chart and pull the rectangle over, click to leave it there. There's also an ellipse, I think, which is a really neat functionality where you pick two price sides and draw an ellipse. So you can kind of call out different areas where the price had impact on the chart. You can also add text. So here I'm saying here's the Litecoin, a 4-hour price explosion. You can edit the text. You can change the font. You can change it to Courier New. You can make it bold. You can make it bigger. And then you can also move this around. After you put text in, you can move the text around. In here you can look at Elliott waves. I'm not going to get into this right now, but if you know how to draw an Elliott wave, you can add this to the chart. And oops, here is a way to identify long and short positions. If I've got a long position on here, I can click on this box and it'll tell me what my target is, what my P&L is, my risk-reward ratio. You can put a stop here on the chart. Obviously this is not going to feed into your trading platform, but if you're identifying a trade and want to tell people, hey, I'm going to buy Litecoin at 260 with a $15 stop, which is going to be right here at 247, this is the way to draw that. And then if I want to get rid of this, I just click this left arrow and undo everything. So this, you can also just click on it, highlight it, and hit delete. Next thing is there are icons pre-programmed in here. So if I want to drop a little arrow and point out, where the 52-week high was in Litecoin, you can do that. You can also make these arrows smaller or bigger. You can make it a giant arrow. You could turn it. That's pretty neat. And then there's other icons you can also drop on the chart. You can drop a $sign if you want to. I don't think that they have the Bitcoin symbol yet. Oh no, here it is. You can drop a Bitcoin symbol. Alright. They must have added this recently. Obviously this is not Bitcoin. We are looking at Litecoin. We're not looking at Bitcoin, we're looking at Litecoin. Just FYI. And then you can also use this feature to zoom in, but you don't really need to zoom in using these tabs because you've got the cursors. And you also lock all these drawing tools, and you can hide them. You can show the objects tree, and you can remove all drawing tools. So just hit this trash can and gets rid of all the drawing tools I added. So once you have a chart that style you really like, you can do a couple things in the right hand corner. You can take an instant snapshot of your chart. So if I click on the snapshot button, it will save an image, or I can copy this URL and then I can post this anywhere I want. This also allows you to automatically send it to StockTwits, or you can also tweet it. So I'm not going to do that right now. The second thing is that I can save this chart layout. So if I want to save a chart layout with like just the 20 and 50 period moving averages on it, exponential moving averages, I just click that and save. And then if I want to go back and load that chart layout, I click load, and it's right here. So there you have it. That's a pretty good introduction to Coinigy's charting platform. If you have any other questions about it, you can take a look at our support page. That's coinigy.com/support. And happy trading, everyone. Thank you.